Are your container plants looking sad instead of flourishing? You're not alone. Container gardening should be rewarding, but when your plants refuse to thrive despite your best efforts, frustration quickly sets in. The good news is that most container garden problems have straightforward solutions, if you know what to look for. In this guide, we'll explore the most common reasons why container gardens struggle and provide practical, proven solutions to revive your plants before it's too late. Whether you're growing herbs on a windowsill, vegetables on a balcony, or flowers on a patio, these insights will help transform your container garden from failing to fantastic. No drainage in containers. Perhaps the most common killer of container plants is poor drainage. When water can't escape from the bottom of your container, roots sit in waterlogged soil and literally drown. Excess water pushes oxygen out of the soil, creating an environment where roots can't breathe. Within days, this leads to root rot, a condition where roots turn brown and mushy instead of white and firm. Once root rot sets in, plants yellow, wilt, and eventually die, regardless of how much care you provide above the soil line. Every container needs drainage holes. This is non-negotiable. If you've fallen in love with a decorative pot without holes, you have options. Drilling holes yourself using a masonry bit for ceramic or concrete pots, or a regular drill bit for plastic containers, can solve the problem effectively. Aim for at least 3 to 4 holes of 1/4 to 1/2 inch in diameter to ensure adequate drainage without losing soil. Using the decorative pot as a cache pot or outer pot and placing a properly draining plastic pot inside it offers another practical solution. Simply remove the inner pot for watering and return it only after excess water has drained away to keep your decorative pot dry and your plants healthy. Adding a 1 to 2 inch layer of pebbles or pottery shards at the bottom of containers with limited drainage creates a reservoir that keeps roots above standing water. While not as effective as actual drainage holes, this method can help prevent the worst effects of overwatering. If your plants are already showing signs of root rot, quick action is needed. Remove the plant, trim away damaged roots with clean scissors, and repot in fresh soil in a properly draining container. Wrong soil for container gardening. Using garden soil in containers is setting yourself up for failure, yet it's a mistake many beginning gardeners make. Garden soil compacts severely in containers, restricting root growth and oxygen flow. It also retains too much moisture while paradoxically not distributing water evenly. The result? Plants that seem simultaneously overwatered and underwatered with stunted growth and poor nutrient uptake. Invest in high-quality potting mix specifically formulated for containers. These specialized potting mixes contain lightweight materials like perlite, vermiculite, or coco coir that prevent compaction, allowing roots to grow freely and access the oxygen they need. They're engineered to hold moisture while still allowing excess water to drain freely, creating the perfect balance for container plants. Many commercial potting mixes include initial fertilizer charges to feed plants for the first few weeks, giving your plants a strong start. Additionally, they're sterile, reducing the risk of soil-borne diseases and pests that can plague garden soil when confined to containers. For economical container gardening, make your own mix by combining equal parts compost, peat moss, or coco coir for a more sustainable option, and perlite or coarse sand. For specific plants, consider specialized mixes. Succulents and cacti thrive in fast-draining mixes with additional perlite or sand that prevent the root rot these plants are particularly susceptible to. The extra drainage mimics their natural growing conditions and allows their specialized root systems to function properly. Vegetables benefit from extra compost added to standard potting mix for additional nutrients. The higher organic matter content supports the heavy feeding needs of productive vegetable plants, especially fruiting varieties like tomatoes and peppers. Acid-loving plants like blueberries, azaleas, and camellias need mixes with added sulfur or peat to lower the pH to their preferred range. Without this pH adjustment, these plants can't access nutrients properly even when they're present in the soil. If your plants are struggling in poor soil, don't hesitate to repot them, even during the growing season. The temporary transplant shock is far preferable to slow decline in inappropriate soil. Small or wrong container size. Container size isn't just about aesthetics, it directly impacts how well your plants can grow. Containers that are too small restrict root growth, which in turn limits top growth. Plants become root-bound, with roots circling around the container's edges. This leads to stunted plants that require constant watering and fertilizing, yet still underperform. Conversely, oversized containers can hold too much moisture around delicate root systems of small plants, leading to rot and poor establishment. The solution: match your container size to both your plant's current size and its mature dimensions. For vegetables, follow these minimum size guidelines. Leafy greens need containers at least 6 to 8 inches deep to accommodate their shallow but spreading root systems. The depth allows for adequate soil volume while preventing rapid moisture fluctuations that can stress these water-loving plants. Bush beans and peppers require containers at least 12 inches deep to support their more substantial root systems and provide the stability these taller plants need. Tomatoes and cucumbers demand deep containers of 18 to 24 inches to accommodate their extensive root systems and support their considerable above-ground growth. This depth also helps maintain more consistent soil moisture, reducing stress during fruiting periods. Root vegetables like carrots, beets, and radishes need 12 to 18 inches of depth, depending on the variety. These plants are heavy feeders with roots that explore every inch of available soil, so larger containers directly translate to better harvests. The depth requirement is obvious. The edible portion grows underground and needs unobstructed space to develop properly. Short, stunted root vegetables are often the result of insufficient depth. For perennial plants, provide enough space for at least 2 to 3 years of growth before repotting becomes necessary. This foresight reduces stress on long-lived plants and establishes stronger root systems that support healthier, more resilient specimens. When planning mixed plantings, ensure the container accommodates the largest plant's needs while considering how the root systems of companion plants will interact. Some plants are compatible root neighbors while others compete aggressively for space. If you suspect your plants are root-bound, gently remove one from its pot and check. If roots are densely circling the outside of the soil mass, it's time to repot to a container 2 to 4 inches larger in diameter. When repotting, gently loosen the root ball and direct roots outward rather than allowing them to continue their circular pattern. Incorrect sunlight placement. Even perfect soil and watering can't overcome improper light conditions for your container plants. Plants placed in too little light become leggy as they stretch toward light sources. They produce fewer flowers and fruits and their growth slows dramatically. Conversely, sun-sensitive plants placed in harsh, direct sunlight can develop scorched leaves and require excessive watering as their containers overheat. Container gardens are particularly vulnerable to light problems because their mobility limits how extensively their roots can grow, preventing them from sending roots deeper to compensate for poor growing conditions. Unlike garden plants that can sometimes adapt to suboptimal conditions by expanding their root systems, container plants have finite resources within their pot. The soil temperature in containers fluctuates more dramatically than in-ground gardens, amplifying the effects of both excessive sun and insufficient light. A container in full sun might reach soil temperatures 20 degrees higher than the same soil mix in a garden bed. Container plants dry out faster when overheated due to their limited soil volume and exposure on all sides to air. This creates a vicious cycle where light stress leads to water stress, further compromising plant health. The solution? Research each plant's specific light requirements and position containers accordingly. Full sun plants like tomatoes, peppers, and most flowering annuals need 6 or more hours of direct sunlight daily to produce energy through photosynthesis efficiently. These plants have evolved to maximize sunlight capture and actually underperform without adequate light intensity. Partial sunshade plants such as leafy greens, begonias, and impatiens thrive with 3 to 6 hours of morning sun, but benefit from protection during the intense afternoon heat. Morning light provides essential energy without the desiccating effects of hot afternoon exposure. Shade plants including ferns, peace lilies, and caladiums need bright, indirect light but little direct sun. These plants have adapted to forest understory conditions and can suffer quickly from even brief exposures to intense direct sunlight. Remember that light conditions change seasonally. A perfectly placed spring container may become excessively hot in summer or too shaded as nearby trees leaf out. For struggling plants, don't hesitate to relocate containers. One of container gardening's greatest advantages is mobility. Monitor how plants respond to their new locations over a week or two and adjust as needed. Ineffective or incorrect watering for containers. Perhaps no aspect of container gardening causes more confusion than proper watering techniques. Container plants face a watering paradox. They need consistent moisture yet are extremely vulnerable to overwatering. Signs of both overwatering and underwatering can appear nearly identical: wilting leaves, yellow foliage, and poor growth. Adding to the challenge, different containers have dramatically different water retention properties. Terracotta and unglazed ceramic pots are porous materials that allow moisture to evaporate through their walls. This quality promotes healthy root systems by improving aeration, but requires more frequent watering, especially in hot or windy conditions. Plastic and glazed pottery retain moisture longer because they're impermeable, preventing evaporation through container walls. While this can be beneficial in reducing watering frequency, it also increases the risk of overwatering and requires more careful monitoring of soil moisture. Fabric pots, a relatively recent innovation, promote airflow through their breathable material, naturally pruning plant roots and preventing circling. This air pruning creates healthier root systems, but requires more frequent watering as moisture evaporates from all surfaces of the container. The solution: instead of adhering to rigid watering schedules, learn to check your soil moisture and respond to what your plants actually need. Inserting your finger 1 to 2 inches into the soil provides a quick, reliable moisture check. If it feels dry at that depth, it's time to water. This simple technique connects you directly with your plant's conditions and prevents both over- and underwatering more effectively than any calendar-based system. For larger containers where finger tests can't reach deep enough, use a moisture meter for accurate readings deeper in the soil mass. These inexpensive tools can detect moisture variations at different depths, revealing problems like dry bottom soil or waterlogged lower layers that might otherwise go unnoticed. Water thoroughly until moisture runs from drainage holes, ensuring the entire soil volume is saturated. Shallow watering creates weak, surface-level root systems vulnerable to drought stress. Deep watering encourages roots to grow throughout the container, creating more resilient plants. Allow the top 1 to 2 inches of soil to dry between waterings for most plants. Less for drought-tolerant plants, more for moisture lovers. This drying cycle pulls oxygen into the soil as water leaves, creating the gas exchange essential for healthy root development. Consider these watering refinements to dramatically improve results. Watering in the morning when possible gives plants adequate moisture for the day's heat, while allowing foliage to dry quickly, reducing fungal disease risks. Morning watering aligns with plants' natural growth cycles as they prepare for photosynthesis during daylight hours. Directing water to the soil, not the foliage, using drip irrigation or careful hand watering keeps leaves dry and disease-free. Many plant diseases require moisture on leaves to establish infection, so keeping foliage dry significantly reduces disease pressure in your container garden. Applying mulch to container surfaces with 1 to 2 inches of compost, straw, or decorative mulch slows evaporation dramatically, extending the time between necessary waterings. A good mulch layer can reduce water needs by 25 to 50% while moderating soil temperature extremes. Grouping plants with similar water needs together simplifies care and improves outcomes by allowing you to water appropriately for each group, rather than compromising between different plants' requirements. During heat waves, moving containers to shadier locations temporarily, and checking moisture levels twice daily can prevent irreversible heat stress. This adaptive approach acknowledges the extreme vulnerability of container plants during weather extremes, and provides simple interventions that can save your garden. For chronically overwatered plants showing signs of recovery, gradually transition to proper watering rather than shocking them with sudden drought conditions. Not fertilizing container plants. Container plants rely entirely on you for their nutrition, yet feeding is often overlooked. Unlike garden plants that can send roots far and wide seeking nutrients, container plants have limited soil volume from which to draw nourishment. Most potting mixes contain minimal nutrients, and those are typically depleted within 4 to 6 weeks. Without supplemental feeding, plants hit a growth plateau regardless of other excellent care. The solution: implement a consistent fertilizing routine based on your plant types. For vegetables and heavy feeders like tomatoes, peppers, and annual flowers, fertilize every 2 weeks with balanced liquid fertilizer, diluted to half the recommended strength. These productive plants continuously deplete soil nutrients as they grow and produce, requiring regular replenishment to maintain their energy-intensive flowering and fruiting cycles. Herbs and light feeders benefit from a gentler approach. Fertilize monthly at quarter strength to prevent the excessive growth that can reduce flavor intensity in culinary herbs. This restrained feeding maintains healthy growth while preserving the essential oil concentration that gives herbs their characteristic flavors and aromas. Long-term container plantings like shrubs or perennials thrive when you incorporate slow-release fertilizer pellets into the top few inches of soil each spring. This single annual application provides consistent low-level nutrition that supports steady growth without the peaks and valleys that can occur with liquid feeding programs. Organic options like compost tea, fish emulsion, or worm castings build soil biology as they feed plants. The microorganisms in these natural fertilizers create living soil that improves nutrient availability and plant resilience over time. Chemical fertilizers provide immediate nutrition but don't contribute to long-term soil health. Watch for these signs of nutrient deficiencies. Overall yellowing of older leaves typically indicates nitrogen deficiency, the most common nutritional problem in container gardens. Nitrogen is highly mobile in plants, so they redistribute it from older growth to new leaves when supplies run short, creating this characteristic yellowing pattern from the bottom up. Purple leaf undersides or stunted growth often signal phosphorus deficiency, particularly in cool weather when this nutrient becomes less available. Phosphorus is essential for energy transfer within plants and crucial for flowering and fruiting, so addressing this deficiency quickly improves production. Yellowing between leaf veins while veins remain green suggests magnesium or iron deficiencies, both micronutrients essential for chlorophyll production. These deficiencies often appear in alkaline conditions or when plants are overwatered, as both situations limit the availability of these minerals. Brown leaf edges commonly indicate potassium deficiency or salt buildup from fertilizer residue. Potassium regulates water movement within plants, so its deficiency appears first at leaf margins where water stress is most evident. Flushing containers thoroughly with clean water can help remedy salt accumulation. For severely undernourished plants, resist the urge to provide a heavy dose of fertilizer, which can burn roots. Instead, begin with half-strength applications every 5 to 7 days until improvement is visible, then transition to a regular maintenance schedule. Turn your container garden around. Container gardening combines art and science, and even experienced gardeners face challenges. The key to success isn't avoiding all problems, it's recognizing them early and responding appropriately. By addressing these 6 critical areas, drainage, soil quality, container size, light exposure, watering techniques, and fertilization, you'll create an environment where plants can thrive, not just survive. Remember that plants are remarkably resilient. Even those showing significant stress can often make impressive comebacks once their basic needs are met. Be patient with the recovery process and celebrate small signs of improvement. If you found this guide helpful, please subscribe to Hydrohaven's YouTube channel for weekly container gardening tips and share this resource with your fellow gardeners. Together we can grow better, one container at a time.